And if you follow my career, at one point I was at 8 different spots in 9 years. So it was like, come coach, leave. And to now be in our fifth season, to see 95% of these guys I recruited myself, and you evaluate the tape, and, you get to know their families. And then to see them kind of realize that dream has been real special. And John was the first quarterback that we took when I got the head job. And it wasn't until mid to late January back then. It was in the second signing day. He was committed to an FCS school, and obviously through our GM and our coaches at the time, just what a find. And to see his growth, see his development, really to see his competitive nature, Nigel, from day one, it's just led to all this success. So when you see a kid that really earns his way, puts in the time, and then realize these results, but ultimately, how good can he be? I mean, he's only 7 games in. He's got 2 more years to play. I mean, just the excitement around John and the way he's handled all the success has been just really refreshing.
Welcome back to the Nick and Nigel Show. Coach, I don't know what week we're on. I am in college football Valhalla, but I do know that you can find us on Samsung TV Plus, channel 2392 on all Samsung connected televisions, on Amazon Freevee, and you can even go to the Pac-12 YouTube page and just type in Nick and Nigel, and you can find us. And of course, we're always brought to you by Clodfelter's Pub, 1501 Northwest Monroe Avenue in Corvallis, the place to watch the game before, during, and after, and our friends at MBI Management for exceptional luxury apartment living in the Mid-Willamette Valley. Coach, how's it going, man? What's happening out there in Eugene, Oregon, home of the #1?
Good morning, Nigel. I'll tell you what, I don't know exactly what week it is either, but I know this. It is flying by. It is flying by. When I look at guys have already played 7 games, unbelievable. So this thing is flying by.
Yeah, you know what's funny is flying by. I showed you my coffee mug earlier. That flew by. The old XFL. This is the old school. This is the original XFL cup. We've had somehow this cup has managed to outlast most people. Like, I got a bunch of buddies' marriages that didn't last as long as this coffee cup. This is from the original iteration of the XFL. That's how old it was when my wife was working for the Orlando Rage back in 2000. Let's say like 2001. Like, that's how long. That's how long this cup has made. Like 8 moves, 7 houses, and 1 Nick and Nigel show. So there you go.
Well, that cup. Congratulations to that cup, because that cup, or any cup that is 20 years old, maybe 10, maybe 5. Catherine Alley, she don't let stuff last long around here. I mean, she's thrown away more good stuff than I like, Nigel. Yeah, it doesn't last long. So congratulations to that XFL Cup.
There you go. Hey, congratulations to the Washington State Cougs. Man, Coach, these dudes are balling out of control, 6-1 on the season. They take care of Hawaii. I was there live and in Technicolor, 42-10 over the Warriors. The defense is balling. And if they're playing defense in the Palouse, man, it's about to be a special season, because I go back to those Dorian Booth days, all the guys they have running around in the secondary. And then you fast forward to now. I mean, these dudes, they held Hawaii. You know what they were on third down? 0 for 8. They did not convert 1 third down the entire game. Also got 3 takeaways for that offense, and John Mateer, who he just continued to be John Mateer-like.
That defense is rock and rolling. And I'll tell you what was key, Nigel, early in the game, and you were there, live and in color. What I thought was great about that game is early in the game, Hawaii got in the red zone twice and only came away with 3 points. And I really think that game becomes much more difficult if those 2 times in the red zone become touchdowns. But Washington State continues to roll defensively. Those red zone stops were key. As you know, 2 important categories on defensive football or offensive football are red zone and third down, and they'll hold a team to 0-8 and third down, and those red zone stops hold them to a field goal were big in leading them to a victory.
Yeah, Coach. It was one of the things I didn't get a chance to get to it on the telecast, but that the run and shoot is a great offense. I'm not going to knock it. It's got its Achilles heels. And one of the biggest Achilles heel it has is the closer they get to scoring, the harder it gets for them, because they really want to score either big plays or from about the 15, 20-yard line. They start to get into the 4, 5, 6-yard line. There's not room for them to really be able to work. Everybody's playing the back shoulder fades now, quick outs. They play picket fence defense, and they just don't have the ability to really spread the teams around because it's just a compacted space. And then they don't really want to run the ball, and you don't have empty boxes anymore because there's just no space to be able to spread a defense out. So, it was one of those things. Again, I thought the defense played out of their mind, but just like you said, those red zone stops were massive. John Mateer, again, Coach, just playing out of his skull. How about this for stats? 23 of 27. What's scary is he's becoming a better passer. We knew he had the ability to run the football. We saw the quarterback power game, all those different things. 23 of 27, Coach. If he only has 4 incompletions, he almost had as many touchdowns as incompletions. He had 3 touchdowns passing, only 4 incompletions, 295 yards. Then he added another 2 touchdowns. So I guess he did. He had more touchdowns, coaches, than he had incompletions. 5 touchdowns, only 4 incompletions on the day. Continuing to play out of his mind. And Chris Hudson, the transfer from Oregon, 7 catches for 90 yards and a tug, Coach. I mean, this offense is rolling right now.
John Mateer has been unbelievable. Let's just face it. He's going to break the rushing yards for a quarterback in Washington State history before this year's over. He is really throwing the ball fantastically. And when you think about 23 for 27, okay, just think about that for a second. You and I have been in many, many practices where there's 7-on-7 drills, and guys don't go 23 for 27.
Oh, routes on air. I'm talking not even the defense getting 27 passes and not having 4 hit the ground with no defense.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So
unbelievable. And think about this too. It wasn't check down city either. He averaged almost 11 yards an attempt. So it's not like he was just doing check down, and getting his completion percentage up. I mean, he was throwing the ball past the first down marker on average every single time he dropped back. So, it's interesting. They're having these conversations. It's already started, Coach. Oh, the CFP. Is CFP a reality for the Cougs? And here's the thing. Yes, because obviously you look at the fact of, they're 6-1, and they're going to be favored. They're favored this week at San Diego State by 14.5. They're going to be favored in every game. They get Utah State at home, New Mexico on the road, who's 3-4, Oregon State on the road at Oregon State. Now, if Oregon State turns it around, we'll see what happens with that one. But then they're also going to get Wyoming, who right now is 1-6 at home to close the season. So in theory, they could be favored and obviously have a great chance to win out the rest of the season, be 11-1, all those good things. But here's the issue that, as I see it, the Baylor Bears posed them, and this is what I mean. Texas Tech right now is one of their best wins on record, and the problem is after beating up on Texas Tech had 1 loss, only to the Cougs, until last weekend when the Baylor Bears took them behind the woodshed 59-35. So much of this is still, we know the West Coast bias still exists, even though the Duckies down the street are ranked number 1 in the country this week. We'll get to that one. But the simple fact is their best wins are Texas Tech and Washington. Washington right now, you can say what you want to. They beat Michigan. They're just having like an inconsistent year. I'm not going to say a down year. They're just wildly inconsistent. Beat Michigan, but then lose to Rutgers. All these different things the way that they're playing. And then you consider the fact, again, Texas Tech losing to Baylor, and then the loss to Boise obviously hurts as well. So we'll see. It'll be interesting how the whole thing shakes out, Coach. But right now, I think it's still a good look for the Cougs.
Washington State favored in every game they got left. That Oregon State game is going to be key. They go down there and play in Corvallis. That's going to be key. I truly believe if Washington State goes 11-1, they will make the college football playoffs, regardless of who they play. Because I see losses in the horizon for an Alabama again, and that can knock them out. Georgia, if they get beat again, it'll be interesting. There's a lot of good football teams have to play each other. So 11-1, they got a chance. They got to get that done. And first they got to go down and beat San Diego State.
Well, speaking of Oregon State, I know we didn't get a chance to really dive into their loss against UNLV. Man, a frustrating day for the Beavs. They drop one 33-25 to UNLV. And like ultimately what it came down to for me, Coach, when I'm watching the game, critical drops on third down. I thought Giovanni McCoy played really, really good football. Not just run the ball, throwing the ball. I mean, at one point he had no incompletions himself, but the block punt, the fumble, and the turnover in their own red zone, those three possessions absolutely murder them. UNLV converts those three on their side of the ball to 17 points. And ultimately, in my opinion, that was the nail in the coffin. That's what cost them the game. And look, defensively, we saw what happened against Nevada. It was rough. I thought the defense really improved. They were playing against an offense, Coach, that was averaging over 45 yards a game, one of the top rushing offenses in the country, and they more than held their own defensively. But I think the mistakes, man, just really hurt them too bad to be able to come out of there with a win.
As I watched that game and then it's over, I really thought Oregon State didn't play a bad football game. I really didn't. I thought they played a very good football, not very good, but a good football game that kept them in it. They looked good. They played hard. They ran the ball with Hankerson again. Giovanni McCoy looked good. But here's the kicker. A blocked punt in the game of football. 90% of the time that you have a punt blocked, you lose.
Wow. Hopefully that doesn't happen as they take on the Fighting Wilcoxes at Cal this next weekend when the Beavs travel down to Berkeley. But hey, 90% of games with a block punt means you lose. But you know what we have 100% of? We got 100% of the head ball coach, Jake Dicker. He's going to join us next on Nick and Nigel. Stick around. Head coach of your Washington State Cougars joins us coming up next.
But this one came with a prize.
Welcome back to the Nick and Nigel show. We're going to get straight into it. Really want to welcome one of the best in the business and a guy that I don't know if he calls me a friend just yet, but we're getting there. We spend a lot of time together on Saturdays. Coach Dicker joins us on the Nick and Nigel show. Coach, what's happening, man?
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I just got a new fresh sign in the background that says, real Cougs eat purple, man. So it's it feels appropriate for right now, but good to have me on.
Hey, speaking of which, Coach, the season has been unbelievable, man. 6-1. You guys, I'm watching you get better every single week. And in the end, like it starts with the guy who touches the ball every play, man. John Mateer. I'm just wondering, like, how cool has it been to watch his development into one of the best signal callers in the country this year?
Well, I think it's cool, Nigel. I mean, if you follow my career, at one point I was at 8 different spots in 9 years. So it was like, come coach, leave, come coach, leave. And to now be in our 5th season, to see 95% of these guys I recruited myself, and you evaluate the tape and, you get to know their families. And then to see them kind of realize that dream has been real special. And John was the first quarterback that we took when I got the head job. And it wasn't until mid to late January back then. It was in the second signing day. He was committed to an FCS school. And obviously through our GM and our coaches at the time, just what a find. And to see his growth, see his development, really to see his competitive nature, Nigel, from day one, it's just led to all this success. So when you see a kid that really earns his way, puts in the time, and then realize these results, but ultimately, how good can he be? I mean, he's only 7 games in. He's got 2 more years to play. I mean, just the excitement around John and the way he's handled all the success has been just really refreshing from me as a head coach. So I'm just excited to partner with John and to see him keep going.
You know what's crazy is it's not like, I mean, we've all been there. When I was at Oregon State, our biggest thing was turnover stones to find guys. It's not like he wasn't like a super accomplished guy at Little Elm High School. I mean, he was the District 5, 6A player of the year. Like, how did you get him to the Palouse?
Well, like I said, it was just one of those things that he was a big baseball guy too. And I think this quarterbacking thing maybe been his like 1B to baseball's 1A as he grew up. Then he realized, like, I can really do this. So the combination of size and speed, our OC at the time, Coach Morris, went down there, worked him out, and just came away with saying, this is the guy. And then the more you talk to him, the more intangible pieces you discover. And he's just a competitive dude. No matter what we play or compete with, John wants to win. And that's always going to lead to success at that quarterbacking position. And he's really come in and been himself. I think that's big. He isn't trying to be in something he's not. I think we've shaped our offense to his skill set, and he's learning as he's going. And it hasn't been perfect, but it's been really, really fun to watch.
It has. It absolutely has. Coach, you know what's interesting is I think when you look at the history, in particular your program, again, it's just like, and no disrespect, it hasn't really mattered. I mean, there's been a couple blips let's be honest, blips in the radar, but for the most part, it's been a place where you turn over a stone, and then all of a sudden it's like a couple years later, there's this diamond that's sitting there. What is so special about Pullman, about Washington State, that it's just kind of been, you can go back multiple eras.
I think the biggest thing I would probably lean to in my 5 years here is that it isn't just finding the most talented guy. It's finding the right fit, right? Because if you just, all you do is love kind of some of the football pieces and you don't want to work hard, you don't have dedication and discipline and sacrifice, you won't work here in Pullman, period. I love that our place kind of weeds guys out before you get here, because you can either do this or you can't. And you better be about ball. You better be about getting a good education. And I tell guys all the time, like, when you get to this level, talent doesn't just get you by. It'll get you here, but it'll never make you reach your full potential. So I just think you get a bunch of guys that love football, that aren't heavily recruited, that have that chip and that edge on their shoulder, and they have traits, right? So, like an Abe Lucas, he had the 6'5", long arms. He just didn't have the size yet, So we put him through our developmental process. We coached the heck out of them. And when they love ball, I mean, they can realize what they're capable of doing. And well, as anybody else, we got to be able to do it together, right? No one individual will be able to win here at Washington State. So I think there's a connection piece that goes with it, and I think that breeds a lot of success.
Well, once again, we're with the head ball coach, Jake Dickert, here at Washington State University. Hey, before I let you go, Coach, you and I are constantly just talking about bigger picture stuff when I come visit with you. I love picking your brain because you always have responses well thought out. I'd come home to my wife and I'd be like, hey, you know what Jake said this week? Straight up, like, true story. The election's coming up. Not going to talk politics, but all of a sudden, let's just give a scenario. You get a phone call. The powers that be, Coach Dickert, we've now elected you the president of college football. You are the president of college football, your first 100 days in office. Because you and I talk about all this stuff, man. We love the game, but the game is kind of broken right now. What are some of the things that if you were the president, actually you're the dictator, you're not even the president, you ain't got to even worry about anybody else's thoughts. There's no Congress here. It's just what you want. What would be the couple of things that you're like, all right, here's what I want to see fixed first and foremost and how I see it?
Wow, that's a powerful question there, Nigel. You caught me off guard a little bit. I think there's a bunch of big ideas, and I think we just got to make sure, obviously the House legislation's coming down, the 105 roster and all those type of things. It hurts me that we're losing 15 walk-on guys. I think I can name probably 20 guys throughout the course of my career that has earned something and a scholarship and been on to great players and went on in the NFL, just some of those type of things. I think obviously the money is a great thing. The NIL is a great thing. I think the more a little bit of legislation and restriction that we get on some of those things, I think the better. I miss sometimes the old days of, like, on paper, our team coming back and some of these young guys, like, it's going to be fantastic. But the unsettling nature of college football, sometimes can be tough to deal with. But if you can't bend your knees and navigate and continue to flow through what the next generation of this game is going to be, like, we're going to lose it. So let's keep our game the way it is. Let's keep our game evolving, because I don't know about you, I can't watch the NFL. I can. It's too slow pace for me. Like, this huddle stuff. Let's get out there and run some plays, guys. Well, I know it's kind of avoiding your answer a little bit, but at the end of the day, like, I think we got an obligation to preserve the greatest game in the world. That's the way I look at it. And change is always necessary. I think we're getting such a fast-paced change because we were so hesitant to do it for so long. But at the end of the day, let's make it about the kids. Let's make it about being professionals in something else besides football, while creating amazing opportunities for these kids that really deserve and earn it. So coaches have been advancing faster than the athletes for a long time. And, the playing field's getting leveled out a little bit, and there can be some positives and some negatives to all of it. So it's really where you focus on too. I talked about that. If you're going to focus on all the bad changes, well, you're going to think college football is bad. Yeah. But if you focus on all the positive things we're still doing, I think there can be a lot of positive that can come out of all these changes.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm starting right now. I could be the campaign manager, Dicker, 2024. Let's make it happen, Coach. All those big things. But, hey, as always, I love sitting down and talking ball, talking just bigger picture stuff with you. I appreciate that you let me bug the snot out of you all the time. Hey, But really, man, really, thank you for the time on Nick and Nigel. And we'll bring Coach Aliotti back for the last segment of the show. But appreciate you again, Coach. And, hey, go Cougs.
Go Cougs.